All right, welcome everyone to the third annual Homeland Security Enterprise Forum. As announced, I am Rob Walker. I'm the Executive Director of the Homeland Security Experts Group. We are your hosts, and we are proud to be here, and we are thankful that you are here. Take a moment to thank our sponsors who have contributed financially for us to put this on, and look forward to their engagement on some of these topics as we look to build partnerships across the Homeland Security enterprise. Our theme this year is advancing the enterprise. And I think now more than ever, after events of the past 72 hours or so, we can see that Homeland Security will continue to play a crucial role in our nation's prosperity and our nation's safety, in the security of our homeland and our nation as a whole. We're here to emphasize some of that. And last year, December 2022, Secretary Mayorkas laid out the case for Homeland Security being a more integrated discussion in our national security dialogue. And that's what we're here to talk about over the next 2 days. How do we integrate and advance the enterprise beyond what most people on the street probably think of as just counterterrorism, just TSA, just border? Those are all part of it. We all recognize that. But we also all recognize that in the great power competition that we're facing against China, Russia, Iran, others, non-state actors, et cetera, we all play a role in securing our nation. And we're here to advance that enterprise and get across the idea that this enterprise, this experiment in American Homeland Security, is valuable and meaningful and will continue for the next 20 years. It will look different than it did when Jane built it, but it will still be meaningful and it will still be, sorry, Jane. It will still be meaningful and it will still be crucial to the security of this nation. With that, I would like to pause and welcome one of our co-chairs, Ms. Jane Harman, who lovingly calls herself one of the grandmothers and grandfathers of Homeland Security. Jane, would you please come up?
Good afternoon, everyone. I actually am a grandmother, so I come by this honestly. But on 9/11, I did not have grandchildren. And I had no idea what would happen and where we would be today. And I want to offer apologies from the grandfather who should be standing next to me, my brother from another mother, Michael Chertoff, but he was unable to come this year. And I personally have to leave a bit early. But let me say thank you to a few more folks and then give just a tad about our history and our future. First of all, Rob Walker, thank you for 6 years in so far, and thank you to the staff who has worked on this, including the Webster Group. And could all of you just please stand up wherever you are, please, and let us thank you. And thank you to the other grandparents who are in the room. I won't read all your names because I can't see you, but could the members of this group, many of whom have been in this group for its entire 14 years and counting, could they please stand up? Where are you? Oh, they're all hiding in the back. Oh, well, okay. A little history. 14 years ago, at the Aspen Institute, this group was formed. Mike Chertoff and I were its co-chairs, and the point of the group was to bring the expertise of many of us who were there on 9/11 to bear as counselors, mostly in private sessions, to senior members of the brand new Homeland Security Department. The group is comprised of people who were there on 9/11, as I said, in various roles, many of whom populated the department in its early days, and some of whom still have roles in the department. I certainly remember 9/11. I was the co-chair of the Subcommittee on Terrorism of the House Intelligence Committee at the time. I soon after became ranking member of the committee, but I was walking toward the dome of the Capitol at 9 o'clock when my staff called and said, the Capitol just closed. The dome was where the Intelligence Committee rooms were then housed, and the absolute target of the fourth plane, everyone now agrees, the one that went down in Pennsylvania. Come back, the Capitol just closed. That seemed to me to be a lame idea, but it did happen. We got it reopened later. and it was a chaotic day. But one thing I think, two things we should take out of that and think Israel today. One, that we did not imagine, or we did not put together the dots that could imagine the attack we had. That's one point, and it does play out right now in Israel. But number two, the way we thought about it was America was under attack. Does anybody remember that? America was under attack. It wasn't one party pointing fingers at the other party. It was America pulling together to respond. And whether some of us think our entire response was the best idea or not, we responded as a country. And that's something that is really critical. And that plays out in this Homeland Security Homeland Security Experts Group. I will get this, HSEG, because we work together, regardless of party. I actually can't remember some of the people's party affiliation. That is because I'm the 1,000-year-old grandmother. But in addition to that, that's not how we saw it, and that's not how we played it. And so that's a huge value added of this group. And we have worked over the 14 years to counsel every Secretary of Homeland Security, when asked, on some of the critical issues. And Ali Mayorkas would have been back this year, but obviously the events in Israel keep him tied down at work. And we have lost others from the Homeland Department and elsewhere because of the same challenge. And they have to be there. Rob Silver came early this morning, the Undersecretary of Homeland for Policy, but he had to go back too, and he should be where he is. But let me just focus on that because it does inform the future of the group. Look what just happened in Israel. Unanticipated, a major attack on Israel's homeland in spite of best-in-class intelligence, best-in-class fighting forces, a small homeland, geographically small, sure, with lots of threats adjacent, but a small homeland, and, well, I don't know how this cuts, but certainly big friends, including us, that always felt, and I still feel, thank you, Joe Biden, that defending Israel is in the core interests of the United States. But no one imagined what just happened. And thinking forward about what else do we need to imagine in Israel is, I think, challenge number one. I'm not at all confident that the attacks are over. Think the Lebanese border on the north, think the West Bank on the east, think a wider theater in the Middle East. And Israel has to focus on that, and so does the United States. So I don't think the attacks are over. I also don't think that Israel and we have yet thought about a comprehensive strategic response to this. I mean, clearly Israel is defending itself in Gaza right now. But what's the end game? And where can this lead? Is there an opportunity, finally, after so many years of fighting and grievance, to create a better architecture in the Middle East? The Biden administration was working on that, whether you like their idea or you don't. Saudi Arabia and Israel in a more formalized union, but demands on the Israelis to articulate steps toward a Palestinian state, plus a few other things that Saudi Arabia wanted from us and some guardrails around that. But the point is, at least there was an effort, which at the moment is obviously suspended, but there was an effort to articulate a larger architecture. I mention that, again, not to focus on the Middle East, although that is, and we should add to that, what's the blowback from all that to us? I mean, cyber attacks or other attacks are still possible here as a result of that, given our enormous friendship with Israel and our substantial tensions with Iran, whom most people at least feel has been historically, whether they currently had something to do with this or not, historically an ally not just of Hamas in Gaza, but Hezbollah in Lebanon, a close ally of Hezbollah in Lebanon. So I'm saying that there is plenty of ground to work on in the homeland enterprise, in the Middle East, but also here. And what this group has offered over the years and what the sponsors in this audience make possible for the future is huge expertise, historical memory, and, you know, pretty current chops on how to think about some of these things. And in our small meeting today, we were talking about, I'm going to close with this, how important it is to extend some expiring authorities and how you could all help with this. Of course, one of them is pretty well known, Section 702 of FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. There are expiring authorities on drones, and there is a lot of thought to do on mis and disinformation, which, as we all know, is polluting our political space and may be, in part, responsible for the erosion of support for Ukraine, another war theater that I hope we will continue to focus on and support. So this group can be involved in all of that, should be involved in all of that, and should be it seems to me, should understand that the Homeland Enterprise has evolved since 9/11. It's no longer just the counterterrorism mission, which is where we surged all of our effort after 9/11. It is no longer that. As articulated in the National Defense Strategy, China is the pacing challenge. But Russia obviously remains potent in Ukraine, and even if its military capacity is diminished, can still threaten NATO. Everyone would agree on that. And China is not just a challenge with respect to what happens in Taiwan, but let's think about what China could do to our homeland in terms of cyber attacks. Did you know, and this is something I learned recently, that most of our cranes at our ports come from, guess where? China. And so we need to think about how vulnerable our homeland is to other challenges by nation states and challenges by rogue actors. So as we do this event in the next day plus, we've had to substitute a few people for a few people because of the challenge of Israel. But as this thing continues, our thanks again to Rob and to the grandparents of the enterprise, but also to you for bringing fresh ideas and financial support to us. It means a lot, and I really want to say thank you very much.